The Pardi Award is presented to a near member who has tirelessly devoted time and effort to and for the Hall of Fame. Dan Pardi was a tireless worker with all matters when it came to near, and especially the Hall of Fame. Hence, this award is in his honor and in his memory. You remember the little train that could story? Certainly our children and grandchildren would remember that. The little train that could. Well, our Hall of Fame museum is mobile, and that is the same kind of story. It's the little truck that could. But through the years, the truck did run into, the Hall of Fame Museum did run into a lot of problems. Matter of fact, when it went out, we weren't even sure that it would return. The person who did all that work, not initially, but after the club got going, was Ric. Ric has been a member of NEAR since 82, 83, almost at the very, very beginning. And he devoted a lot of his time, not only to Pro-9 Museum, but to the Hall of Fame Museum itself. That truck went all over the place, all over New England for a long, long time. And it did fall upon hard times because of years of use. I know Bob Palvareri had a lot to do with getting the truck started at the very, very beginning, along with Mike Joy. But it's a 1992 Chevrolet, big block engine. Well, with his assistance, Ric's assistance, we got the truck straightened out. For a long time, the board of directors, the truck was out of sight, out of mind because it stayed in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. But it always went out to shows, 12, 14 shows a year, very, very easily. 4 years ago, the board of directors, in their wisdom, sought to rebuild the mechanical part of the truck. New engine, all the things that went along with it, and it took $15,000, I think it was, and a couple of years before we got the truck straightened out. Now, I know when I go with Ric, we go to a show, he likes to take a convoy because he's not sure the truck is going to make it. But it does. It makes it very, very well. The interior of the truck is visited by so many people, and for a long time, Ric would come to directors' meetings and he would talk about the people who visit the Hall of Fame Museum. And I saw myself, because I went out with the truck for a long time as well. It's amazing. Just do not take it for granted. These plaques Ric will install this week, and it'll go out next year. And people come and look. They want certain family members especially, want to see this one, they want to see that one, or some year, and whatever it might be. And they read, they take photos of them. I noticed today, many people came up and took photos. And of course, I always tell them when I'm in the truck, I says, photos are free. My picture is $5. Well, I've never had my picture taken so far. But the tireless efforts by one guy, for the most part, kept this thing going. And it gave us a reason to rehab the museum. And when it goes out, it's just a really pleasurable thing. I want to make sure that I cover everything here. If you don't know who Ric is the guy who's going to be selling, he has a t-shirt your size for the Hall of Fame this year, and he runs a Pro-9 Museum, and he's a good friend, he's a good worker. The information that he has, I remember Lou Bordy a few years ago was talking about the guys who do this before Dick Bergen's museum. What do we, they have all this information, R.A. Sylvia, they got all this information. What are we going to do with it? How can we take it and produce it? Well, we can't produce someone's brain, but we certainly can produce what they do. Ric Mariscal is definitely one of those tireless workers for NEAR and the Hall of Fame. He knows more about the Hall of Fame than the Hall of Fame does, if you will. That's who Ric is. And it's my pleasure to introduce, and the winner of this year's Dan Pardi Award, Ric Mariscal.
This is a great honor and a privilege to stand up here, knowing that since this whole system has begun, I've tried to be a part of it, but mostly since I've gotten involved in the process of preserving the history. In 1983, when I joined the club, I was really impressed with Mr. Pardi's enthusiasm with the past. And at that time, I had just left motorsports as an upcoming driver wanting to race, to be a legend, to be a Hall of Famer. And the job was given to me to take Old Blue to a lot of the vintage events. After the first event that I took Old Blue to, it changed my life. I was so impressed as a young boy watching the car and rooting for Fred DeSaro and Bugsy, that I knew somebody had to take over and help preserve this sport's great history. It means a lot to me to be amongst all today's inductees. Congratulations. Through the years, I've got to sit down and had dinner or lunch with many of you, and I consider you all family. Dan was a big presence in the club, and I'm really honored and privileged to take care of his items at the Pro 9 Motorsports Museum. And there isn't a day that goes by that I walk through that place and I look at different things and really appreciate the trust that's been given to me by many people in this room, the Casellas, Bugsy, giving me thousands and thousands of items to preserve and protect for all you people to enjoy. Thank you very much.